Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about, of course, latest we've seen as far as the oath taking in the KP Assembly is concerned, as far as the reserved seats are concerned. The controversy, we've also seen the comments of the Election Commission on this issue, and of course, Peshawar High Court also will be talking about the ramifications of this on the overall political process of KP. And whether it will have some bearing on overall as far as other oath taking as far as the National Assembly is concerned, and overall the process is concerned. Clarification by the Peshawar High Court is expected on certain issues there. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about, of course, the challenges the government is facing to counter terrorism at this time. There are, of course, efforts underway to deal with the pressing security concerns at this time, particularly in KP also. And of course, we've seen the recent incident there targeting the Chinese engineers, and of course, the overall situation with regard to that a little later on. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me today Naveed Aman, who is a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us today. We also have with us Dr. Niaz Murtazs, who is a senior analyst. Thank you for joining us. And Zahid Gishkori, who is a senior journalist and an analyst. Thank you so much for being with us. Let me first go to Zahid Saab and then I'll come back to you. Zahid Saab, this issue as far as the oath taking in the KP Assembly is concerned, we've also seen remarks come from the Election Commission. We've also, of course, seen the Peshawar High Court take cognizance and overall the comments there. What is your take on this issue as far as this process is concerned, as far as this oath taking is concerned?
Obviously, it's a very important issue, and Election Commission of Pakistan has already indicated that if the Speaker, Provincial Assembly of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa does not take or administer the oath from the member parliament coming on the reserve seat, it could delay the elections in the Senate of Pakistan. You know better that the elections of upper house of the parliament are already delayed. The session was very much due with the new year, with the new parliament of Senate from 12th of this month. So it looks like that elections are scheduled on April 2. And you know, now Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Assembly Speaker, as we were told, that they have decided to challenge the High Court decision, and they are going to put this matter before the Supreme Court. So it can take more time, and Election Commission of Pakistan has already indicated that Senate elections may be put off due to this very reason. And this is very unfortunate from the side of PTI. This is the last attempt to save the political stakes of this party, because already they remain on the losing end at almost all the form except in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Yes, there could be a debate on certain decision taken by either Election Commission of Pakistan or the Supreme Court of Pakistan on different electoral matters, but this attempt, it seemed to be a futile attempt, by the way.
Strong. Let me include Dr. Niaz in this also. Niaz Sab, this is also isn't this one of those strong arm tactics that you know, we've also seen unfortunately in the past by one particular party? This is at best going to be a delay, nothing else. That's what it looks like, does it not? Because there really doesn't seem to be at this time. Of course, there will be clarity by the Supreme Court, but there doesn't really seem to be a reason for there to be, you know, to prevent these members from taking oath. Isn't that correct?
Well, the thing is that, you know, there is the administrative power of the Speaker. The Speaker has to call them and, you know, take oath. So administratively, the Speaker can delay, but then, you know, there are the legal decisions by the Peshawar High Court and by the Election Commission of Pakistan that the Speaker should, you know, give oath to these people. And but then there is also the fact that, you know, a PTI does have the right to go to the Supreme Court. Now the question is, whether Election Commission of Pakistan is right in saying that until and unless these people take oath, the elections from the KP Assembly into the Senate will get delayed. Now, if you go back to the issue of, National Assembly, the PTI had raised this issue that since, the House is not complete, the elections for, the Prime Minister and the Speaker should not be held. And other people had pointed out that the House doesn't have to be complete. The elections can still be held. So these are all, the legal complications that have to be, looked into. And obviously, the Supreme Court is the ultimate arbiter. So I imagine, the things will go there and get sorted out there. At stake, of course, is, a few seats into the Senate, because if PTI does get the reserve seats, which looks like it's going to be difficult the way things are, but still, if it does,
also going to be Niaz Sahab, do you think it's also going to be something that will, of course, bring up the issue of reserve seats again, and perhaps get clarity on that overall as far as the seats that were supposed to be awarded to the Sunni Ittihad Council, and now, of course, they've also been allocated to other political parties. So perhaps there will be clarity on that issue by the Supreme Court, while they're adjudicating on this also.
Yeah, because that's an ongoing issue that hasn't been completely resolved. The issue of reserved seats, whether PIC was entitled to them, given the fact that it did not produce a complete list against the reserved seats in the required number to absorb all the PTI people. There have been one or two cases where one or two seats were allotted to, one of the parties, I think BAP, the Balochistan Awami Party, but then that was a matter of just one seat. Here, there are so many seats involved, maybe dozens and dozens of them. So what should be, the final decision?
This is a legal question, and of course, we are going to be looking at some clarity from the Supreme Court. But in a lot of cases, I'm going to include Naveed Sahab in this also. They've also been awarded to other political parties. So, do you think there's a chance that that can be overturned, or, of course, it's also a legal question, but looking at the
Mahrukh, I think we need to keep in mind the statement of Afzal Marwat.
Okay.
He said that we were mistaken to join Sunni Ittihad Council, and it is admission of their mistake that they were on the wrong side to join Sunni Ittihad Council. They would have joined any other party which could qualify for the reserve seats as well. So they cannot have those reserve seats as a result of all this situation. Number one. Number two is this, that all the legal ways should be opted amicably within the parliament or within the assembly. The matters of assemblies we unnecessarily take to the High Court or the Supreme Court, and we involve them. The politicians should resolve their issues either within the assembly or within the election commission, because it is the mandate of election commission, not the Supreme Court and the High Court.
No, but isn't this also, I mean, it's not really a question, there are a lot of legal questions in this, no? In your opinion, no? That,
I don't think. It is very clear.
You think, and of course the election commission has already
yes, it is very
decided.
clear. So election commission has given its verdict, and we need to follow the decision of election commission. And after that decision, the things should be resolved within the assembly. We need to, or the PTI need not to take that decision in Supreme Court or High Court.
Okay, fair enough. Let me go to Zahid Sahab. Zahid Sahab, you think that there is, in the past, there has been some concern about, I think what Naveed Sahab is alluding to, needless litigation or involving the courts in what are essentially political questions. All of those things are certainly, there, and those issues and those questions have from time to time come up. Do you think we still have a tendency to do that as far as, all political parties are concerned?
It's very unfortunate at the platform being used by political parties at different courts on different political or electoral matters. We have witnessed it started from no confidence motion against Imran Khan, but now, as you were saying, I agree to it that it seemed to be a futile exercise. Otherwise, it has to happen. And our colleagues pointed out rightly that PTI could lose 3 to 4 seats of Senate if this issue is not resolved. If these members on the reserve seat take oath and their votes are included, then PTI would lose at least 3 to 4 seats in KPK, and it could not be the lead party in the Senate of Pakistan otherwise, because there was an opportunity for the party to retain the status of a party with the lead vote, at least 30 members in the Senate of Pakistan at least. It looks like now the party would get around 23 or 24 votes, where Pakistan People's Party could become the almost the largest party in the Senate. And that's why it's fighting for the right, the PTI, but having many legal shenanigans, party contesting on different forums. Unfortunately for them, because system is not supporting them, institutions, I think their strategy and the legal strategy and political strategy continues to fail at many forums for the last 1.5 years. First, they adopted, Tehreek-e-Afria party, and then the Sunni Tehreek, and they could not succeed. And what happened in Punjab, they are also not going to get any major share in Punjab. I think perhaps only 2 seats from Punjab and no seat from Balochistan, nothing from Sindh. So it's of course on a losing end. They lost the president, they lost in the National Assembly, they lost in Punjab, they have nothing in Sindh, either in Balochistan. So they're bound to operate in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and their political strategy to run the province, were not living up to the expectations of the people. I understand, and not their voters. But even if you let me to include the debate, because it directly syncs to their lobbying agenda on the ongoing elections in Pakistan today, Joe Biden wrote a letter to Pakistani Prime Minister and pledges to work with Pakistan and the new government. So it means that the party also failed, and this lobbying as well in the United States, the key political agenda and the drive party continue to carry in the whole election campaign. So they are in the challenging time. But in the meanwhile, Election Commission of Pakistan is also facing many legal complications created by different political parties, and it's loud and clear. And the one example, one of my colleagues also was giving here, the BAP party got one seat in the previous election. This situation cannot be compared here, because that situation was quite different in a way that at that time all tribal areas were included to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and the government created new provinces. They became part of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and then Election Commission of Pakistan provided second opportunity to political parties to give the new list of candidates for the reserve seats. So this was an opportunity. BAP found it too. But this time it was a new example, first of its kind in Pakistan recent election history. So it happened, and the Election Commission took the decision, and court also endorsed its point of view.
Right,
there could be a debate.
Zahid Saab, let me come back to you on this. I'm going to include Niaz Saab. Niaz Saab, there's what Zahid Saab is saying. Do you think it is about a failure of their legal strategy as far as PTI as a political party is concerned? There's also, of course, that what is being said as far as infighting within the party is concerned, with the absence of the former Prime Minister Imran Khan Saab. Do you think it's probably more about that kind of a haphazard strategy that the situation is the way it is, with regard to, of course, the reserve seats generally, and also the position in the Senate, like Zahid Saab is saying, to them losing the majority there and overall?
Well, I think there are several factors in play. First of all is that, the political system is not working very well. The dialogue that should exist within parties, even parties that are on the different side of the aisle, they should at least have, conversations going on, enough communication channels to be able to, sort out some issues.
Communication, if you talk about communication, in the beginning, and correct me if I'm wrong, we saw, PPP, for example, when there was talk about forming government. And I'd like to include Zahid Saab in this also, and Naveed Aman Saab also, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was this talk, and then we saw the PTI come out and say, well, we're not going to talk to the PTI, the PPP or the PMLN. We don't want to talk to the main political parties. So the failure to have these talks is something that has been, rather a hallmark of the PTI as a political party. Has it not been? Because there's been a consistent, in what can one say, not inability, but their absolute refusal to have any sort of talks with any other political parties, a party which they believe works for them as far as political strategy is concerned. No? Niaz Saab?
Yeah, no, that's true. It's the PTI that had, broken the communication channels between, say, 2014 to 2018, and it has a very, strong stand that we can't speak with, chores and dakus, although, they themselves have a lot of, similar characters within their own folds. So certainly that's part of it. And then, I think it also has to do with the fact that our laws are not, adequate in many, many situations, as we are finding out every time, there's a new situation coming in, which shows that, the laws are not adequate. So I think there's a need to go back, collect all these experiences that we've had over the last 2 years, which have put a lot of strain on the Constitution and on its interpretation. So, that's a task for the new parliament to sort out the laws, all the loopholes that have been discovered. And then, the third factor, of course, is that, the PTI is facing a very novel situation, which no other political party has faced in the last few years, given, the no confidence motion, then May 9, the crackdown. So a lot of its leaders are in jail. They've either left or they've gone underground. So a new brand of leaders have emerged, who don't obviously have the same kind of experience as some of their old hands. So I think it's a multiple of factors. But now I think the thing is that they have to talk to each other, and there you see some good points, like the recent meeting between the CM of KP and the Interior Minister, because the biggest challenge that Pakistan is facing, and KP in particular is facing, is the security challenge. And it's important, because KP and Balochistan are the two biggest hit provinces. So that's a good sign that at least at the level of security, administrative issues, there have been a couple of meetings between the CM of KP, the PM of Pakistan, the Interior Minister, because if there hadn't been any communication at that level, that would have created a lot of problems. So I hope at least at the administrative level and security level, this kind of interaction will continue while all these bigger, larger legal and political issues get sorted out, so that the security in Pakistan is not jeopardized.
Do you agree, Naveed Saab? There is, you think that, of course, if there are multiple issues, one can't disagree with what Niaz Saab is saying in that regard. But of course, also the inability to have talks is perhaps now something that's dragged on too long in the political process. And now perhaps there needs to be a more, a working relationship between the opposition and the government.
Absolutely.
Which can then, not entail writing to letters to, against the IMF program, or protesting in the way that we saw against, for example, the IMF program, things that go against the vein of economic progress and prosperity.
Absolutely right. We need more reconciliation. We cannot afford more polarization. And we need now more comfortable working relationship to move ahead, because the elections are over now. The parliament has sworn in. The cabinet is finalized. Even the president has taken note. Now we need to move ahead. The governments in the provinces are also ready to move ahead to combat different challenges and issues. If we just stuck up with the mentality or the mindset that we will never have interaction with the political opponents, we cannot move ahead. Pakistan cannot move ahead. Pakistan.
On the one hand, we see this, let me include Zahid Saab in this also. Zahid Saab, we also see an increased consciousness on the part of PTI as a political party that they need to be in the parliament, because of course we saw earlier the former Prime Minister and his attitude as far as including his political party in the political process, and now that seems to be a realization, a growing realization within the PTI and its leadership, that they have to be within the system if they want to be able to make a difference, if they want to have a voice. Do you think that maybe this will follow with the thought that they perhaps also need to have a working relationship? Of course we've seen a little change as far as CM KP, and that of course a recognition that he needs to have a working relationship with the other provinces, even in the background of the 18th Amendment with the federation also. So you think it's a natural process which will perhaps follow?
I think, Mahrukh, it's true somehow that PTI learned the lesson and getting maturity, and they want to become a part of parliament. They want to play the role, and they understood the situation last time they left parliament in the center. They just went out from Punjab and then Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They dissolved the assemblies, and what happened to them ultimately? And they understand as a political party, but PTI could not give the collective response on different forum on multiple issues, because a party is scattered, there is no central leadership, and the party is in the hand of a stranger otherwise. If you look into the lead role playing by different lawyers who are just apparently just increasing their profile and talking to media on different issues, and we have seen difference of opinion on very important issues, either when it comes to representing the center, or to even take up the issue of uh, uh, Pakistan internal issue with the IMF or with different international powers. So that's the problem party has been facing in the past, and the current is also no difference. But one thing is clear, that now, after perhaps in second week of or third weeks of April, the parliamentary process and all the constitutional positions have been in the operative form, the state and the country could see what exactly they need for to run the affairs of economy, and Pakistan is also, and the government also hoping to get a new deal with from IMF, as the finance minister announced today. But this Senate election, as with our Senate debate, are quite different, quite interesting, and quite new precedents we have seen in the recent times. At our colleagues, Niaz Murtazs was seeing that what happened in National Assembly, because PTI has been seeking seats, and they said that the House is not full, and the Prime Minister could not be voted for. So it's voting happened over there, and nobody took care of it, and even nothing in the courts as well, and similar situation here in the Senate. And we don't know that what would happen, but it's loud and clear, by the way, that election be whole, I'm sure, by the Election Commission of Pakistan, and After this all overall, everything is finalized when it comes to house is full, the government is in function, cabinet is here. Now the focus on the challenges. But one thing, because we have seen, as you counted example that Khyber Pakhtunkhwa chief minister's a couple of recent meetings were quite interesting, cooperative, and he gave the message that he is ready to work with the center. And today, Prime Minister also announced Council of Common Interest panel as well. So it would be interesting when the Chief Minister would be participating in at such forums with the center. But I don't know that what would happen in the long run, because overall dictating clauses, overall the situation and the planning and policies are being given by the founder of PTI from the jail, and without understanding the situation, sometime he is not being informed what exactly the reality.
So, like you said, I mean, coming to that point, that he's, of course, it's there. He's giving these instructions out of prison, and of course, whether he's completely cognizant of the picture or not. We've also seen, a new spokesperson as far as the PTI as a political party is concerned. It's maybe an attempt on their part to perhaps, not have varying or digressing or different viewpoints going in different directions. Maybe it's an attempt to deal with that issue also, because we've seen that come out in the past also.
Mahrukh, this is very important. I think the center is very powerful this time. Forget about the PDM government. This time, the opposition is quite weak, no doubt that because we understand that 1 month passed over now with the power in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the party leadership and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government could not even get its own Inspector General Police, its own Chief Secretary, the choice floated by the Chief Minister. Not a big change. We haven't seen any difference or change in federal bureaucracy ruling in the province. So it means that this situation is quite different. They are now bound to just in the ring of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and this is a small province. Otherwise, it's not Punjab. In the previous times, they were ruling in the Punjab, and in the center, PDM government was just on the mercy of Punjab and the PTI and whatever it wants to do, and they have done it. They could not take big decision. One thing is most important. Now the government would try to get it. I'm sure that they want majority in the House. Perhaps there could be a parliamentary group, rival group, created within PTI or the independent candidate, whatever you name them. They need around 15 to 16 such like-minded member National Assembly who could support them for the bigger legislation. The state is needed, the government is needed to bring in some constitutional amendment. Just to block perhaps the personal reason for some, to block the way for PTI. And something is very important cooking up, by the way. The latest meeting of Prime Minister with Chief Justice of Pakistan and the Supreme Court position on military court trial. It looks like that state is not ready to forgive them, at least whosoever did in the past.
What happens in that regard? I want to move on and talk a little bit. We're running out of time, but I do want to talk about the challenges for the government as far as countering terrorism is concerned. Niaz, we've also, of course, pressing security concerns as far as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is concerned. We've also seen the recent incident with, targeting Chinese engineers. Do you see, and this is of course Pakistan, all stakeholders, we've also seen the army, we've also seen the government particularly committed to ensuring peace there. What do you expect there to, as far as trying to deal with this challenge is concerned? Do you think it's going to be, perhaps now that everyone is on board, and of course as far as Pakistan and security is concerned, there are no two ways to look at it. We're going to be able to deal with this?
Well, again, you see the same kind of, dual position. So on the one hand, of course, Pakistan has, serious concerns about the fact that, the Afghan Taliban government has not, been able to rein in TTP. But then you also see that, a trade agreement was agreed upon, which is quite liberal in the sense that, it allows free movement across the borders without visas and passports. Which was a big sticking point for the Afghanistan government. So Pakistan has been trying very hard to bilaterally deal with the Afghan Taliban government, and I think this latest incident in Bisham may suggest another strategy in the sense that it brings Pakistan and China on the same page as far as the security threats that are coming from Afghanistan are concerned, because now it's not just TTP targeting Pakistani interests, it's TTP also targeting Chinese interests, the CPAC projects in the north of Pakistan. And on the other hand, you see, China being probably the biggest investor in Afghanistan at the moment, given that the Western countries have completely shunned Afghanistan. So there's a lot of investment going from China. So I think it would make sense for Pakistan to coordinate with China and show that there is a common threat coming to both countries from TTP, and it might make sense for us to have trilateral dialogue, with Afghanistan, China, and Pakistan having three-way dialogue in Beijing to see how these issues can be resolved so that the interests of both Pakistan and China are safeguarded.
Naveed Sahab, do you agree? You think perhaps a three-way dialogue is the way forward, because of course this is a high priority for Pakistan. It's as far as ensuring that things, as far as KP is concerned, as far as the whole region, as far as security there is concerned. Of course, it's a huge issue for us, and we want to ensure that we deal with it at the top priority.
Yes, it is. It is the need of the time that we need to have trilateral dialogues. Pakistan, Afghanistan and China. But on the other hand, we need to go for hot pursuit against the terrorists. Dialogue is something else, and we need not to keep quiet. We need to be very vigilant and go for the hot pursuit of the terrorists elsewhere in KPK or in Balochistan or anywhere in the country. The most important thing is this, that China has been having very, very strong concern over the militancy and extremism in Afghanistan, which Afghans or the Taliban, they export to the neighboring countries, especially to Pakistan.
Okay.
They're comfortable with the Central Asian states, but they're not comfortable with Pakistan. They are focusing their terrorism pressure to Pakistan. China suspects that it is very much possible from Afghanistan, either Taliban or East Turkmenistan movement terrorists, they enter in Chinese border and create problem for China. And Chinese are very, very seriously concerned, having concern over the involvement or
the terrorism that's coming.
Terrorism in Xinjiang province, because a long time China has been facing trouble from East Turkmenistan in Xinjiang province. That is why they, they're not going to spare any event. Like this is Dasu event or terrorist attack, or the previous 2021 terrorist attack. They were very, very serious about the implications and about the investigations. Now, almost all the civil works on different projects, the Amir Bhasha, Dasu, and Trabela Dam, everywhere they have stopped work. Civil work is stopped, and now they are waiting for the investigations and probing up or the outcome of this investigation. So this is a serious blow to Pakistan and serious blow to China, and we need to join hands and fight all together against the terrorists, either they are in Afghanistan or in any other part of the country or the region.
Fair enough. Zahid Saab, this meeting, we've also seen, of course, the Prime Minister, we've also seen Interior Minister, we've also seen the delegation that accompanied the Prime Minister, of course, to the Chinese embassy also. Overall, as far as, you know, there are no two opinions on trying to deal with this, trying to ensure that we are safe in all shapes and forms. As far as this issue is concerned, do you expect, of course, we've had, the Chinese have always stood by Pakistan also, so there is that long-standing relationship, also a dialogue. Do you think things are going to move swiftly towards the right direction there?
I see in a global way that look what exactly happened, the same terrorists almost having link with the same organization, IS Khorasan, that what happened in Moscow and definitely happened in Pakistan. Pakistan is not an exception. And what's happening in Afghanistan, it's a broader way. Pakistan is not an exception. You know, it's more than 70 bigger multi-billion-dollar projects. Around 23,000 Chinese workers are operating on different projects associated here in Pakistan, and more than 30,000 security personnel from Rangers, from Pakistan Army, from Naval, from Police, Special Branch, Counter-Terrorism Department. So it's a multi-pronged security layer Pakistan is trying to provide. I understand that today a very important security delegation is here. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of Interior also briefed on the situation, and Pakistan President, Pakistan Prime Minister, Interior Minister, the top hierarchy visited Chinese embassy. And Pakistan being a host country, what else they can extend, because the whole region is not protected otherwise. If it could happen in Moscow, Pakistan have a porous border with Afghanistan and Iran, and you know, Pakistan also fighting a war within the country as well against the terrorism, and the very weak government in Afghanistan also is not able to stop.
Of course. I don't think we're
we
justifying
need to pull up the socks and, you know, go for the hot
an action,
pursuit,
of course, is
yes,
expected on all fronts, and it's always continuing as far as Pakistan
definitely
is concerned. Niaz Saab, your quick comments. We're also running out of time.
Yeah, I think the Russian angle is also interesting, because what's happened in Moscow was much, much bigger than what happened in Bisham. But for some reason, Russia hasn't really pinned it on Afghanistan or tried to put any pressure on, you know, the Afghan Taliban for it. They seem to, you know, trying to link it more to Ukraine and USA and so on. But I think there is an angle there as well to Pakistan to work with countries like Russia and China and put some pressure on the Afghan Taliban, because, you know, there is an offer on the table for Afghan Taliban to join CPAC. So the success of CPAC will also help Afghan Taliban. So they do need to look at it, you know, rationally and practically, that, you know, just giving this free hand to TTP is not in their own interest. They don't have too many avenues, too many countries to turn to. It's just Pakistan, China, Iran to some extent, which can help out. So hopefully, you know, the message going from China, which is, you know, the biggest stakeholder in Afghanistan, might do the trick. And I think that's what Pakistan should be discussing with China too, that, you know, China, instead of just blaming Pakistan, can, you know, join Pakistan and have a three-way dialogue with Afghanistan.
Fair enough.
Mahrukh, it is a regional issue. Terrorism is a regional issue. But the most important thing is this, that the clues from Moscow to Afghanistan, from Pakistan to Afghanistan, and from China to Afghanistan are the same. So all they believe that Afghanistan is exporting that terrorism in the entire region, and every country is being affected. And don't forget the role of India as well, because in India next month Modi is going for the elections, and whenever elections are very close, from India we face such sort of terrorism in Pakistan or elsewhere. So it is not ruled out.
Of course, no, not at all. And of course, it's an acknowledged fact that there is always interference from that side of the border.
Yes, it is a nexus between India, Afghanistan, and all these terrorist groups which are against the development of CPEC and the development of the region.
Pakistan also. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Naveed Aman Saab, thank you for joining us. Dr. Niaz Murtazs, thank you for your time. Zahid Gishkori Saab, thank you for joining us today. Overall, of course, Pakistani government and all stakeholders are committed to ensuring peace in all shapes and forms, and of course we saw a recent reaction come out from all quarters after this very sad incident. Of course, efforts are being made to ensure that there is peace all around, and that no interference comes from across the border also, and the kind of terrorism that we've recently seen. Efforts are being made to clamp down on this terrorism. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.